Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Javier with The Real Javier Novoa Studio, a channel, a platform, and a modality where we apply the principles of philosophy, spirituality, mysticism, and business to rapid lifestyle transformation. And the key concept here is that we apply these principles to rapid lifestyle transformation. As we discussed in early videos of this channel when we started about 4 months ago now, that all of the information that we give here is primarily aimed not solely at philosophic banter, although that can be fun, but is aimed toward the practical, hands in the clay modalities of this so that you can start applying it and take off your life and actually gain your freedom of schedule, freedom from the prison grid, and freedom from having to work for a boss. So I'm excited to get into what we call the nitty-gritty of applying a lot of these principles. But first, ladies and gentlemen, please, if you have not subscribed to our channel, hit the subscribe button below, because not only does it allow you to get alerts to all of the videos that we release on this channel, of which I release at least one video of substance daily that will benefit and take off your life, it also enables this to get this information out to as many people as possible. That is part of the reason why we started the channel, ladies and gentlemen, and it's part of all of our individual growth. We grow, and spontaneously by doing that, we help those who want to come with us grow together, because the time has come, ladies and gentlemen, for this information. The time has come to free your life and your schedule from a small elite that wants to control your energy and wants to control your attention. So please subscribe, and I'll give you a second to do that. Thank you so much for hitting that subscribe button. So today what I want to talk about is an issue that, or concepts that, or a basket of concepts that are going to apply to the videos going forward here. Because as we said, this channel is not primarily about law of assumption, although we're going to continue doing videos on that and explaining that, because it's going to take off your life in a real way. This channel is not about stoicism, primarily. This channel is not about minimalism, primarily. It's not about philosophy, primarily. There are many great channels for all those modalities. For example, Stoicism. We recommend Ryan Holiday's The Daily Stoic channel. They have great videos on Stoicism. We'd recommend others on law of assumption, law of attraction. We'd recommend others in business and so on and so forth. What this channel primarily aims to do is to bring all of those together, and from my years of experience and study, distill principles that we can immediately apply to getting us to our desired destination quicker than we thought possible, by being able to marshal the assistance of the universal forces by knowing the laws of the universe and by applying them. Very simply and very practically. So the principles that I want to discuss and touch on briefly in this video, as in the next few days we're going into some very specific tools, are the Pareto principle that we've talked about before, and Parkinson's law that we've talked about. Now, know that you don't have to apply and follow these principles in order to get everything that you want, because we know that if you study our chart of the levels of being that we released on this channel in the very early days, we know that we started at divinity and we are still there in the real. However, we decided to come into this world of form by splitting ourselves, as it were, and of course our inner core stayed there completely knowing its divinity and completely connected with the whole. And we discussed this in the video yesterday for that reason. But we came to play in forms. But while we're playing with the forms, if we still have a knowledge of our divinity, at least in the back of our mind, then we're able to bypass a lot of the laws of this world of forms. So you have everything that you want already. You must know this. However, Here's the principle that a lot of people miss in the law of assumption and law of attraction community. Already having what you want, if you have everything that you want actually in the physical right now and knowing it, let's just say, then what would you do? You've gotten everything that you want. Now what do you do? Now you just start playing in the world of forms. Of course, this is also missing the mark just a bit, as all verbal explanations do, because you're going to be constantly, eternally shooting off new rockets of desires, Abraham Hicks talks about, and then you use those same principles to get to those. But let's just put that aside for the sake of the illustration and assume that you've completed all of your desires and you now have no new desires. What is it now that you're going to be doing? Well, what did divinity do by coming here? It was already in perfection. It was already the field of all possibility. What does it do now? Well, it goes down and starts playing in those possibilities. So Alan Watts, the great spiritual philosopher, the great Zen philosopher back in the 60s and 70s, had a great video about this. And he basically said, okay, let's imagine that you are a very good lucid dreamer and you can choose any dream that you wanted to have every night. So tonight I'm going to dream that I've got like 4 gorgeous wives. I have a Jaguar, not me, but I'm giving you an example here. I have a Jaguar. I live in a mansion. My life's completely perfect. I have servants. I have all the billions of dollars that I want for the rest of my life, and I just have to float in the swimming pool. Okay, that's cool. All right, well, tomorrow night, I'm going to imagine that I'm the King of England now. I'm going to dream that I'm the King of England. And I have everyone at my beck and call. I meet all of these politicians and so on and so forth. People kiss my ring. Okay, the next night, I'm going to imagine that I'm a, great musician and I'm famous and everyone loves me. Well, after about 5 nights of that, you're going to notice that you're extremely bored and you're going to say, okay, let's shake it up a bit. Tomorrow night, I want to have a dream that I am born into, say, a poor family, but then I'm able by my own wits to attain wealth and so on and so forth. You'll eventually get to that, which means, you see, once you've attained all of your desires, and this is actually the real reason for wanting to cure the thirst of your desire. Think about this. I want you to contemplate this. When you want to attain a desire, what comes after that? The only thing that comes after attaining the desire, as Neville Goddard said, as Eckhart Tolle said, is just okay, now I'm free, it's done, and so now I can go have fun. So your whole purpose now is to play in the world of forms. So you can actually know this now before you attain your desire, and then you can actually be in 2 modalities because you are a multidimensional being. And we talked about this in prior videos, and you can go watch our previous videos to get more information on this. We can be in 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or however many film roles because we are in all the film roles. So you can be in the film role at the time that you want to, of having that desire already completely done. And you're living on that film role and you're enjoying that. And you're actually enjoying what you would do after the desire was done. You can also now on this film role start asking yourself, okay, let's pretend now that I just want to have fun in some aspects of this to achieve the desire myself, because after all, that's why I came. And then you can start playing with modalities of actually making it easier to achieve that desire on this film role. I hope I'm making myself a little bit clear, and it's going to be clear as we talk about the Pareto principle and the Parkinson's law. So, where are we going with this? So you have to understand that when you shift to these tools, first of all, you don't have to apply these tools. And if it ever feels really bad applying them, if you ever feel powerless or you feel like you feel negative emotion around your desire, then just stop and go back to the film roll where you have it already. And you can do this multiple times a day and become mindful. But when you actually are bored, these are some modalities that you can use and approach to actually attain your desire faster on this film roll. So know that when we're talking about applying these modalities, we're talking about applying them on a film roll. We're talking about using them as tools in a game, so to speak, and that you can leave that game anytime that you want. So after this point, I'm talking about in the game. And if at any time this disturbs you or upsets you or makes you feel further away from your intention, then just stop and say, I'm the divine and I don't have to do any of this because I already have it. And you will come back to it later, but just rest. So, knowing this. This is a paradox, by the way. We also talked about paradox in the very early days. And I will perhaps put a link to that video in the description here, where you can hold two or more contradictory ideas in your mind, because contradiction only arises when we're talking on different levels on that scale of being or referring to different film rolls. So I refer you to that video for this paradox. So now I want to start this by explaining the Parkinson's law. And we did explain in a video previously. And how it's going to help you. The great Peter Thiel, the great tech billionaire, and I was reading this in Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss. It's a great book to refer to and so on and so forth. When people would give him their massive plans for the next 10 years, he would ask them, why can't you do it in 6 months? Now, that's why we go into in this modality, and I always tell you, you will be free from a boss within 6 months to a year. Let's make it 6 months. Let's say that you have a financial plan for the next 10 years. You want to be worth $10 million in 10 years. I want you to do the thought experiment in your journal and say, why can't I have it in 6 months? This is Parkinson's law, which says that a project will expand according to the time that you allot to it. So if you say that you're going to take 10 years, that's on this film roll, by the way, but if you give yourself 10 years to make $10 million, it will take the full 10 years, most likely, to make it. But if you say, I'm going to do this in 6 months, now you might overwhelm yourself, in which case we'll tell you to scale it way back, but just taking this as a thought experiment. If you give yourself 6 months, even if that takes 2 years, you've gained a lot. You've gained a lot of time. So we always encourage people to use Parkinson's law. And what you can do is you can take, I'm not saying $10 million, take the smaller goal of simply having your freedom of movement and freedom of schedule by being your own boss within 6 months. Now, at the outset, you want to decrease the importance of this, like Vadim Zeland says in Reality Transurfing. You want to tell yourself, first of all, a lot of people have the fear, especially in the law of assumption community, that if they give themselves too difficult a task, then it will prove somehow that they can't manifest it because they don't have the manifestational talent, so to speak, or it will prove that this whole modality is false. Both of those are false. You're now at the point where you're not trying to prove anything to yourself. Does God need to prove to himself that he's the creator? Does the divine need proof that he's divine? Know that you are it and simply move on from that fear. You may still have that thought come up and that fear come up, but you can always use the deductive method like it talks about in A Course in Miracles and just go immediately back to your divinity and say, nonsense. I am the creator of my reality. I'm the only creator of my reality because my consciousness is the only divine consciousness. So nonsense that if I quote unquote fail at this, that this is going to somehow prove that I can't do it or that the law of assumption is false. The law of assumption has to be true because everything exists within my consciousness. Therefore, it is simply the law of what I conceive in my consciousness is. You have to start at that basis point. And then you say, okay, let's play this little game. And then I want you to get serious about that game, just like a sport or an athlete on the field is serious about his game. He goes about it seriously yet playfully. And this is another topic that the great Alan Watts talked about in one of his videos, that the best experts in any field, whether it be music, whether it be sport, whether it be science, if you look at them in their work, they're very playful. Their movements are very nimble. They seem focused and joyful while they're performing, and they go at it as a game. Ask any golf coach. My cousin's a golf professor. If people are stiff and they're worried about their swing, they're going to play very badly. But if people go at it as, you know what, we're going to play this game and we'll see how it works out, and I've trained well and I have good form and I'm just going to focus on my form and relax, they usually end up performing very well. So you want to approach this as a game. Now, that being said, what I want you to do is give yourself a 6-month time frame for the achievement of whatever goal this is. Let's say it's a home, right? You're going to say, well, I'm going to have this home within 6 months. Now, what would I do? And I want you to start writing. I want you to start writing, first of all, who can help me do this quicker? And by the way, not a shameless advertisement. I can help you because I do coaching calls, and I've guided many people through this process, and I will put my email in the description. You can schedule a coaching call with me, and we will help you do this quicker than you thought possible. But anybody who could help you. And by the way, you don't even need to talk to that person. You can imagine speaking to that person, journal about speaking to that person, and we will go into that in other videos. I believe I did one video on this where you can actually talk to the person. Silva talks about this a lot, but you can always talk to the person will talk back within you. But it's a lot easier a lot of times just to enlist the help of somebody, and most people are just a few clicks away if you know how to go at them. And we will do a video on this about how to access mentors and so on and so forth. I want you to ask yourself, what are the daily routines that are going to help me achieve this? What are the daily scaffolds? Perhaps you need to work on your sleep, because if you're not getting any sleep and you're stressed all the time, it's going to be a lot harder to achieve that. Perhaps you need to set yourself some habits. We're going to go more specifically into all these modalities in the next few days, but this is just a little primer to get your juice flowing. Another thing you can ask yourself in your journaling, like I talked about in yesterday's video about good questions, is, okay, what if everything went wrong? What would happen? Then journal about that. And then, instead of making a bunch of mistakes, you already know what can really go wrong, because what are the main things that can go wrong? Well, you can lose all of your investment, you can get hurt, or you can get into legal trouble, or something like, or you can lose a relationship, or you can embarrass yourself. These are the main things that can go wrong. Now, you can write about them in the specificity of whatever it is you're trying to achieve. Now, what I want you to do is, and here's the paradox here, I want you to keep journaling about it for at least 3 to 7 days without trying to lift a finger on it. I want you to utilize and marshal. You can utilize this as your magic wand. Abraham Hicks talks about it. Just pretend that your pen is a magic wand, and whatever you write is coming to pass. And every day for at least 3 to 7 days, I want you to journal just around the topic. And you're going to find that you're going to start going down some avenues, and then you're going to start getting inspirations to act. Ooh, I should talk to this person. Oh, I should go about it this way. Don't start going about it as so many frenetic entrepreneurs do, as so many beginners in any field do, and say, well, I've got to do all this, and I've got to go do, and I've got to go talk to people. Not yet. You're going to be taking plenty of action. But right now, at least for the first week, I want you to just journal around it. Ask yourself questions and give yourself time. You can also ask yourself, what are the major impediments? And it could be family members not allowing you time. You've got to journal that and work that all out. And also in our coaching calls, we really help people create a space where they can work. We help people create islands of time where they can actually work and focus. So just by doing this, just by giving yourself a deadline of, say, 6 months, it could be 3 months. It could be a weekend to learn a small topic or to launch a business. You can say, I want to launch this business in 3 days. And then just get your juices flowing. And this is going to be marshaling the Parkinson's law principle to your favor. Now, the Pareto principle is where you're going to start structuring these journaling modalities that you've started. So what you're going to do is you're going to start breaking the project down into components. Of course, your plan, it's going to change the moment you hit the ground, right? But you want to write a plan. The great Mark Allen said, always write at least a 1-page plan for getting what you want, because that drills it into the subconscious. And then the subconscious, like we said yesterday, which is your personal chat GPT, starts flowing and starts to get to work to start bringing to you those serendipities. But this is a way to marshal the resources of the universe to help you. A structure will start coming up of its own accord. You don't have to lift a finger to make that structure. All you need to do is sit down and journal, do a tabletop exercise, if you will, around that topic so that you can start vibrating around that topic. And so then what you do is you start to get the goal into some components. So for example, let's say you want to learn to play the piano. Well, you need to learn chords, that's one component. You need to start learning how to strike the keys, that's another component. You need to get your foot-hand coordination, your eye-hand coordination, that's another component. Perhaps you want to study with one of the greats and you need to try to contact them and figure out a way to enlist their aid. That's another component. The mental and imaginal exercise is a very important component. And then what you do is you order those components in sequence according to the 80-20 principle. Let's say you've got 15 components. Out of these 15, what are the 3 that are going to have the most impact and that are going to influence the rest of the other components to get me where I want to be quicker than to try to pursue all of the components? You might pursue all of the components, but you want to start with those that have more chance of getting you to where you want quicker, and you want to start with those that give you early wins. That's another way that you're going to categorize them, especially in the beginning. In the beginning of trying to accomplish your aim and so on and so forth, you want to give yourself the opportunity to have wins, because wins are going to give you momentum and they're going to help you emotionally and they're going to help you get into flow. So try to approach not only those aspects which will give you more leverage and that will get you to where you want to be quicker, also do those things that are, or divide those components into subcomponents and try to attack the components that are going to give you early wins so that you don't have negative emotion and then have to go back to the drawing board. Another important point that dovetails with all this is, how do you know the components? Well, you want to do quick research. You do it online. You can read. They say in the beginning, and we encourage in the beginning, read no more than 3 books and don't take copious notes until you get started. Because the important thing here is to get yourself a blueprint and get some momentum and then get started on those first components that are going to get your foot in the door and therefore having momentum. Then you'll want to do more deep research. And that's when you want to start emailing people who are at the top of whatever field you're trying to attain and try to interview them. And from those interviews, you'll also get more information. And we're going to be going into more details in that. So this is the game, ladies and gentlemen. We're leveraging Parkinson's law. We're using the Pareto principle. But we're on the groundwork of knowing that we already have it, of knowing that this is a game, and therefore none of this is serious, so that we don't take any of it too seriously, and we know that we're just playing with forms. And ironically, all of that's going to dovetail, because nothing is separate. All of it's going to dovetail to get you to where you want quicker than you thought possible. Stick with me for the next few months. Keep watching these videos. And you're going to make, I promise you, if you practice everything that we talk about in these videos, you're going to make more progress in the next 6 months than you have in the last 5 years, if not 10 years. For some people, it's going to be 10 years. That's my personal guarantee to you if you watch these videos and practice what we're saying. Now, we're also doing coaching calls. If you wish to go into this further with me personally, you don't have to. I'm going to give you everything that you need for free in these videos to get to where you want to be. But if you get with me, I promise you that you're going to make more progress in this month and in the next 2 months than other people will make in 6 months, as opposed to 5 to 10 years. You're going to make years of progress in 1 to 2 months as we go down this path together through coaching. So ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. Again, I will put my email in the description. We are going to be going more specifically into all of these modalities. I'm very excited about the coming days and weeks. So please continue to subscribe, continue to share the videos, continue to comment. And with much love and appreciation, I appreciate all of you, and I'm excited about the journey. This is Javier with The Real Javier Novoa, and we'll see you tomorrow.